Sorry, guys. I forgot. So, hey, guys, welcome into another edition of Make Every Second Count Live. And I, I, I slacked off this week, and my guest had to cancel on me. Kind of stinks. But you're lucky because I found a new one. And tonight we're going to learn why you are never alone in the adversities you are facing. So I ask you guys if you would please share this video out, invite all kinds of people to watch it, and don't forget to give us likes and all kinds of comments. Let us have a conversation with you instead of making a presentation to you. But also, I ask you if you would definitely, I don't know, but I forget what I was saying. But no problem. So with no further ado, I would like to bring the superstar to the stage, Miss Rissa Reel.
Hi there. How are
Hey,
you?
how are you doing?
Pretty good. Can't complain.
Hey, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy evening to be here with me and my guests or my viewers. Yeah, I I love it because I found you on such quick notice and you were like, "Yeah, I don't have anything going on that night." And I'm like, "Awesome." So, I definitely appreciate it.
Yeah,
So,
no.
if you would like to go through a short introduction about yourself, tell everybody who you are, where
Yeah,
you're from, and what you do, I would appreciate that.
yeah, absolutely. So, like you said, I'm Rissa Reel. I am 28. I live in Lima, Ohio, but I've kind of lived all around in different places in Ohio as well as in Michigan. And yeah, that's pretty much it about me. I do some pretty crazy stuff. Um, I like to kind of share my light and love with other people, and yeah.
That is amazing. I definitely like what you do because that's what I do. But I have to say that I have learned something in life that we don't just go through things, but we grow through things. And I'm saying this because when I was 17, I was in a severe car accident. I've spent 2.5 months in a coma, and I wasn't supposed to be walking right now, but I am. And I learned some important lessons going through that. And I'm here to show you now that each and every person out there goes through something. And if you haven't yet, you have been lucky. And just wait, it's coming. I promise you that. And I want you to be prepared when you face those adversities, those challenges, whatever you want to call them. So I put together this show. And I like to talk to people about what they have gone through. So Rissa, has there been anything in life that you have had to grow through?
Yeah, there's actually been quite a bit. I struggled through a childhood of abuse and neglect. I have four other siblings, and one of them has cerebral palsy, and I was the caretaker to all of my siblings growing up, starting at the age of 10. I was the one who cooked for them and cleaned for them and got them up for school. I was pretty much the mom. Anything that you can think that a mom does, I was doing by the age of 10. And so that took a pretty heavy toll. That's a really stressful thing to be doing as an adult, let alone a child. And so, growing through all of that, I kind of came into early adulthood after kind of moving through that, and I thought I could just let go of that stuff because it was in my past. However, that's not how it worked. I found out that I had PTSD among some other mental health issues coming into my early adulthood, and I had to kind of take a step back and realize that I had to heal from a lot of that stuff before I could move on and grow from it. And I went through some other things that helped me realize I had to grow through it to be able to get over it. I faced a really significant abusive relationship about 3 years ago. I left that in fear of my losing my life. So um, I've definitely had a lot to grow from.
Wow, that is crazy the amount of stuff that you have faced. You have faced more than most people have faced in an entire lifetime, and you're not very old. I'm not going to ask how old you are, so I'll just say you're not very old. So I find that to be strange that you have had to grow through so much at such a young age.
I always
So
my
I
origin story.
yeah, I do have to ask though, what was it like having to take care of your siblings? How
It
did that make you feel?
Really alone, to be honest. I felt like I had all of this responsibility at such a young age, and there was no one that I could talk to about all of the responsibility that I was having to do, as well as dealing with my mom. She was an addict, and she also had bipolar disorder, so I not only helped take care of my siblings, I was also in the hospital with my mom whenever she had things that she was going through. And so I felt very overwhelmed. By the age of 16, I had reached out to my mom and told her that I was dealing with depression and probably even a lot of anxiety at that time. And she kind of dismissed it, and I ended up attempting suicide. And so it was really tough as a teenager. I probably felt the most alone my whole life whenever I was a kid.
So, well, first of all, let me say I'm glad that you didn't succeed in your suicide attempt. And I am sorry that you had to go grow through all that stuff, but I am glad that you actually grew through that stuff and are able to talk about it today because that is going to help so many people in the world. And I know that one of the biggest things that I learned is that we can learn from other people's challenges and we need to take their lessons so we don't have to go through what they went through. So we can escape those things easier when we go through them. And like I said before, don't think you're getting out of this scot free because it's going to happen to somebody, it's going to happen to everybody at some time.
Mhm.
So let me ask you this. Um, when did you realize that you had some mental health issues?
Honestly, if you want my honest answer, probably around the age of 9 is when I started struggling with intrusive thoughts that were not very good. And probably by the age of 16 is when I really knew something was really wrong. Like, hey, this is not normal. I should not be feeling or experiencing these things. I was diagnosed with major depressive disorder whenever I attempted suicide. And when I moved out of my house, though, at the age of 17, I decided to dismiss all of it and chalk it up to, oh, it was because of my living environment, my childhood, and everything else, and I can overcome that. I'm not depressed, right? I tried to ignore a lot of it. And so then, as an early adult, I didn't get any help again until after I had my second child, and I was diagnosed with postpartum depression. And then I finally was able to explore the other things that I had wrong with me, like PTSD as well as obsessive compulsive disorder. So, yeah, it's
Man,
been a journey, honestly.
did trying to ignore your problems help them, or did
They
it hin
explode.
they exploded?
hmm
So, how exactly did you get those under control?
So actually, I didn't even really start getting them under control until about 3 years ago. Whenever I left that abusive relationship, it took me hitting rock bottom and realizing that if I don't take care of these things, I'm going to not be alive. And whether it be because of that abusive guy or because of me taking my own life, I had to seek help and figure out what I had to do differently. I tried medication and I tried therapy and I went to group therapy and lots of different types of therapy, and none of that seemed to work until I realized I had to put the work in. And so I started doing all of the things that I figured out that I enjoyed, like walking and making art and going and being a part of community events like drum circles and poetry slams. I had to put myself out there.
So I have been on I've had this idea stuck in my head all week, and I have no idea why. But have you ever heard of blue zones?
Have I heard of what?
Blue zones.
I don't think so.
They are areas in the world that people live for a long time.
Okay.
Now, the interesting thing about these blue zones is they a lot of times revolve around people being social, being very interactive with their environment. And I find that to be kind of neat because I see a correlation between the blue zones and your drum circles and your poetry slams, and I think that is really neat. So, is there what kind of people are the best kind of people to be around when you're going through something like you have grown through?
Someone who is empathetic and compassionate, someone that I don't have to worry about necessarily looking at me like they always feel sorry for me, but someone who's willing to listen to me in those moments when I really do need to express myself without judgment. So, someone just willing to be there in the dark times as well as the good times, and someone who's willing to bring you up and support you, and someone you don't have to question their loyalty or their belief in you.
Uh, and d- is your family a good one all the time to support you through everything you were going through?
You're asking the wrong person because I don't have a lot of good family connections. So my answer is no. There have been quite bit of family that I have had to cut out. Now I do have family members that are wonderful support, but I've kind of had to build my family outside of blood.
See, now this is also interesting to me that our family doesn't actually have to be related to
Yeah.
us. We can build our own family. We can, as I like to call them, your own tribe,
Mhm.
and surround yourself with the kind of people that you actually need in your life. And that is a huge help for when trying to grow out of something and grow into something new. So I know you said that you didn't have a lot of family, but you actually probably do.
Yeah, I
You
have
you
a lot.
actually have that larger family that it might not be blood related, but they were there to help you when you needed the help, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I have grown my circle very large these past few years.
So, how exactly did you find the people in your tribe now?
It took a while, honestly. It took putting myself outside my norm and going and meeting new people, finding the social circles that I really related to, right? Like, I'm not a person that's just going to go to a bar and find my people, right? Understanding that you have to go to the places that are going to be worth your energy and time, like poetry slams and drum circles. That's my thing. I'm very artistic and I love writing and I love music, and so that's something that's in my alley. But if it's not something that's your thing, then you have to find the things that are your thing.
So, all right. I have a question when
Yeah.
you say that though. How can somebody figure out what their thing is if they live in a little area, like a small town? I know you're from Sydney originally, I'm actually in Piqua right now. That's where I'm from, where your aunt is from,
Mhm.
and it's a small little area. So there might not be poetry slams. There
Right.
might not be drum circles, as you say. How exactly can people find those outlets?
So for me, it was just using my resources, right? That's why we have these lovely phones in our hands. We can get on and kind of find different resources within the area or within a driving distance, and also being more open to traveling. If it's not within your means, then there's obviously other options like Zoom meetings, right? I know that there's like even writing clubs that you can join that you're just on Zoom, so you don't even have to leave your home to join these communities and have that support. So also just trying things. If you don't know what you're into or what you enjoy, you got to be able to try it until, and that's how you find out if you like it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great advice. But so, do you have any other tips for anybody that is going through anything? Any way that you could help them not feel alone when they're facing that adversity, that challenge, that difficulty, whatever you want to call it?
Yeah, it's really hard in those moments when we feel really alone and like we don't have anyone or any support. And so, my best advice is to know that this is temporary, that we have many problems that we go through in life, and that it's not going to be a permanent thing. And even if you have to take it second by second, that's all you can do sometimes. And if you do have those people, make sure you reach out in those times that you feel alone. You don't have to face it alone. You are allowed to ask for help and to reach out for help and support. That's what our people are there for. So, yeah.
Yeah. Now, I know that you have done some charity work,
Yeah.
and which, yeah, I wouldn't necessarily call it charity work, but I know you have raised some money for some things and raised some awareness for some other things. So can you tell us a little bit about those things?
Yeah, so I would call myself more of like a mental health advocate, right? I advocate for ending the stigma on mental health because I think that there's so many people out there that think that they're the only one, but there are so many people who face mental health challenges or go through adversities in their life. And so by sharing my story, I hope to show others that they can use their voice to share their story because there's so many other people who, while they might not be able to relate directly, there might be bits and pieces that they can relate to in your story. And so I started sharing my story after I left that abusive relationship and kind of started sharing my story about healing. And I really got into walking. And if you're not aware, like I said, I had PTSD, and walking is a really good tool to help you heal and process through that trauma, just like EMDR therapy. It basically uses the left and right side of your brain to work through those memories and process it through your body. And so that's what I used walking for. And I was like, you know what? I can do more than this. I can walk across the country to talk about something crazy, right? Like talk about mental health. Maybe I'll draw attention to something big by doing something crazy. And that's what I did. I walked all the way from Flint, Michigan to Kansas City, Kansas, 800 miles. And I got to raise awareness and raise money for Whaley's Children's Center in Flint, Michigan. They help kids who have been through significant trauma. And then I also didn't stop there. I skyrocketed into my motivational speaking. I've gotten to speak for the National Alliance on Mental Illness as well as several other organizations and events. And then I also started getting into our public high schools and sharing my story there and letting kids and our youth know that they're not alone. And then I walked across the whole state of Michigan. In 2022, I walked all the way from Detroit, Michigan, up to Mackinac Island, 352 miles in 10 days, and I raised awareness for the D-Man Foundation. They help people with physical and mental disabilities, and that's close to my heart because of my brother. And then just this past summer, I walked for Big Brothers Big Sisters. I actually walked up through near Piqua area. I started in Cincinnati and walked all the way to Cleveland. Sydney was one of my stopping places at the Big Brothers Big Sisters headquarters there. And yeah, it was a really great experience, and it was one of those things that I really got to find out how not alone I was. I didn't know anyone I was around. I was all by myself, and there were times I had to ask for help, and it was because I had a flat tire on my stroller, or maybe I needed a little bit more water, or heck, maybe it was raining all day, and I needed some shelter out of the rain. And I had to be able to get out of my comfort zone and ask strangers for help. Otherwise, I would have really suffered and struggled. And that's the whole kind of mission I'm going for, is to let people know it's okay to ask for help, that they're not alone, and that there's lots of other people who face this stuff.
Yeah, I find that very cool because I've always told people that it's not a sign of weakness to
Yeah.
ask for help. It's actually the strongest thing a person can do because they know that they need that help. A lot of people don't realize that they actually need the help, and they're too, either that or they're too proud to ask for that help.
Or too
And
scared. It's that stigma, right? There, people are going to think I'm crazy, or what if they judge me because I have a mental health problem or any other sort of problem. Right now, it's a huge thing with like homelessness, right? Like people don't even talk about how big the homelessness is, and people are scared to talk about that because it's such a huge stigmatized thing. It's just, I don't know. It's so hard whenever people are scared to speak up. I think
yeah,
that's really what it is. People have had their voice taken from them, and so it's hard to kind of speak up now and ask for help.
well, I don't know that I'm going to be walking all that distance like you have done, and I find that crazy, very admirable that you actually attempted that. And well, and completed it. That's pretty darn cool.
Well, it's thinking about the journey of life, right? Like we all have these journeys, but that first step is like the most important one. If you don't take that first step, you don't go anywhere. And
No.
I don't know, it's been really cool to experience.
Yeah. I should try walking to like Troy or Sydney
They
just
have
to
a
do it.
path over there.
What?
They have a really beautiful path.
Yeah.
Like the path through like Dayton area is really beautiful too. That's what I walked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome. So, do all right. Um how can somebody get started in trying to help themselves? I mean, are there resources out there to help people?
I absolutely believe there is. The first step is obviously recognizing that maybe you do need a little bit of help and that you don't want to feel alone in the struggle. So once you take that step, then also, like I said, use your resources. That's why we have phones and internet, so we can Google support groups, or even reaching out to your doctor is a helpful tool, and be like, hey, I'm really struggling with my mental health. They can point you in the direction of maybe possibly therapy. Um, Also, like Googling natural ways of like what will help the happy chemicals in my brain, what releases those feel good things that we all need, like exercise or getting enough sunlight, making sure that we're putting nutritious food in our body that will sustain us, making sure we're getting enough water and sleep. Are we taking care of ourselves? That self care is one of the most important things within our mental health. Um, there's lots of resources out there. Also, just maybe reaching out to a trusted friend and being like, hey, do you have any advice within the situation I might be in? Because, if they're a friend, they might have a little bit more of insight into your life.
Yeah. Now, do you do you happen to know the number for NAMI?
Ooh, I do not.
Oh,
Tough
you just failed right
one.
there. No, you didn't. But if I would have actually thought about it ahead of time, I would have looked it up so I could have given it out on here. But is there anywhere that you're scheduled to speak at, or any podcast that you're supposed to be on coming up?
Yeah, so March 8th, I'll be speaking in Lima. I'll be speaking at a chili event. Basically, we're going to have a chili cook off, but we're also going to be raising lots of awareness to local organizations and resources out there to help you through these things and these adversities. So it'll be a really cool event to kind of put my story out there and let other people know what's out there resource wise. Like I said, it'll be March 8th. I believe it'll be around 11:15. And I do not have the details for the address yet, but as soon as I get like the flyer out there, I'll be sharing that on my local pages, my social media pages. I will actually be on a podcast tomorrow, and air date will be February 2nd, so that'll be really cool. It'll also be airing on local radio show 92.1 in Lima, so that'll be really interesting.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, do you happen to have any contact information or like a website that you would like people to have?
Yeah, so you can find me on Facebook at Rissa Reel, so RissaReel, and then you can also go to my website. I'm honestly in the middle of rebranding, and I'm very excited for the launch of the rebrands, but it's going to be called whybecause.org. You can definitely go check out what I've gotten so far done on that. And it kind of also shares what I've done about it shares info about my walks and how you can donate as well as my story.
That's awesome. And you said that is
Yeah,
whybecaus.org.
yeah, yep.
And is it WHY or just
Yeah,
Y?
www.why because so BCAUSE.org. Whybecause.org.
Yeah, all right, cool. I'll
Yeah,
definitely have to check that out. But everybody out there, including you, Rissa, needs to do me a favor this week, next week, and for the rest of your life. I need you guys to make every second count. Why, you might ask? Because you never know when those seconds will run out on your one life. Hey, you guys have a great week. I will see you back here next Tuesday, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, for a brand new episode of Make Every Second Count Live. And I want to thank you again, Rissa. I appreciate you so much.
absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Yep, you have a fantastic night as well.
You as well. Thank you.
Thank you.